I'm actually vlogging. We're on our way to the 5 colleges book sale. It's a mega used book event, library sale here that I've heard all about, and now I finally get to go and see. So we're gonna get there. I guess you said it's so many tables that you need a map. They give you a map of where things are. Just hordes and hordes of people, tons and tons of books. The last thing in the world I need. But we're gonna give it a try. So I will. If I remember, I will vlog from there, and then on the way back.
We're about ready to get off the exit into New Hampshire. We'll go through a little canyon here.
Bookish adventures in the Pacific, in the Northeast. All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up because this is a little disconcerting. But we'll be back. Thank you, BookTube. Hello, BookTube. I'm going in. If this is as bad as it looks, one of you take care of Frida for me. I'll see you soon. Actually, no, I won't. I'll see you in a couple of days. Hello, BookTube. Well, as you might have seen on various social media, on little scraps of video that I've done already, I went to a huge library book sale today. Considering all the books I've got in this Vermont vacation that Frida and I have been on, I did not need to get any books, but I went anyway, because Mark, that's Richardson Reads, for you plebes. Frida and I have been his guests for days. I'll leave a link to his channel down below, because you should subscribe to it. And for days, he has been telling me that the 5 college book sale was not like any library book sale I'd ever been to. That even no matter how many I'd been to, I should go to this one because it would be worth the while. And I thought at first, oh, okay, I'm always up for a library book sale. He's probably just being a little over enthusiastic. And then he said that it was so good that we were going to leave before it started and stand outside in line for an hour. And I'm a sweet and accommodating daffodil BookTube, as you know, so I didn't say anything, but in my heart of hearts, I was thinking, oh, come on. No library sale could be worth doing that. And we went, and we had a great time talking in line, and sure enough, once we got inside, once the line started, and we got inside, I was wrong. I was wrong. This is the 5 college library sale, book sale. They're in their 58th year, and the 5 colleges are Smith, Simmons, Vassar, Mount Holyoke, and Wellesley. And they just spend, it's once a year, and they spend the whole of the year accumulating books and going through them and amassing them by genre and by group. And then they commandeer a high school during the break that the students are on, so that every inch, oh God, you should have seen it, every hallway, tables lining it or cashiers lining it, the auditorium, the gymnasium, all of it, just packed with books. I took some clips of video that I'm assuming that we can get these in with this video, but it was amazing. It was amazing. And I wanted to show you. I did indeed get books. In fact, I not only got books, but once I was at my carrying capacity, we went out to the car, dropped off all those books, and made a second return trip to the sale. Insane, but it's done. It is done. I am not going to buy any books tomorrow. So I wanted to show you what I got today. So we'll start off with the mass markets. And there was a whole room for science fiction. It had a whole bunch of stuff, even though there were dealers, those little app-wielding, cell phone consulting dealers, who were at this. Of course, they were the first people through the door. And they went to certain areas, certain genres, certain types of books right away. So I'm told that the science fiction room, Mark says the science fiction room this time around wasn't as good as it has been in previous years. And even then, I could see when I was in the room that it had already been picked over, even though it was only minutes. The place had only been open for minutes by the time I got there. The dealers were there in force, but they were well behaved. They were pathetic, but they were well behaved. And because I'm not a dealer, I still found stuff that I wanted. And I found these 3. We'll start with Conan, but not really Conan. Robert E. Howard, the creator of Conan. For a while, his non-Conan books were brought out in matching mass market set. And I got 3 of those. The first one is Son of the White Wolf. And then there's Marchers of Valhalla. You getting these covers there? And then Skull Face, which, despite the title, is not about the nickname that I gave to my Deb. But I got these three just because I haven't read off-brand B-side Robert E. Howard pulp in forever. But then when I got them back here, I noticed that they each come with a poster. A full-color poster is inside every one of these things. Look at this; they unfold. Isn't that awesome? I don't know what I would ever do with these. But that is the kind of extra touch that mass market producers used to make, and they don't anymore. So I got 3 Conan mass markets, and I got 3 mystery mass markets as well. I should have, in retrospect, of course, big library sales like this, you always have second thoughts. When you're done, you always think you could have done it better. And what I should have done was get all of these, because they're mass markets from 45 years ago, and they're in perfect condition. They look like they were made yesterday. And they're all Georgette Heyer. We've seen a couple of her murder mysteries on this channel before. And they had all of them there. I don't know why I didn't get all. I found a uniform set of Georgette Heyer murder mysteries, and I got 3. Well, they're 50 cents each. I don't know what I was thinking, but I want to show you the ones I got. There's Why Shoot a Butler? Check out that hairdo, huh? Last time you saw that, it was Adam at Memento Mori. Then Detection Unlimited. See the old-style wooden tennis racket? And the tennis player who's not roided up to the eyeballs. And the last one is They Found Him Dead. And the cover illustration is the 2 people who found him dead, and we are in the position of the dead body. So I got those pulpy mass markets. 3 Robert E. Howards and 3 Georgette Heyer murder mysteries. And then I also found a mass market that's not pulpy. I found this lovely, brand new Signet mass market of Anna Karenina. I thought it was just pretty, and it was dirt cheap, so I just grabbed it. It's the Margolick translation, which I kind of like, but I've only read that translation once. I am a rather big fan of Constance Garnett and the Maud translation. And also Rosemary Edmonds. I like the first generation of Tolstoy translators, and I think probably it's because they were the first generation that I read. I sort of imprinted on them for all of these Russian classics. But I'm going to give this another try. I've been sort of drifting away from mass market paperbacks, but it's not religious, and this thing is not going to be anywhere else. So those were the mass markets. Now there is one other addition to the mass markets that I got today, but I can't actually show it on camera because there's too many. So some of you may know, some of you may remember on this channel, I have an incredible sweet tooth for old Signet Regency romance novels. I love them. Now, before I went to this library sale, I thought it's 5 colleges. There's no chance that you're going to have any Regency romances there. And if you do, maybe you'll have 1, maybe 2. And I went to the little corner of the fiction room where the romance novels were, and I was looking at the tables, and there were a couple of romances. They weren't even Signets. They were Fawcett romances. And I thought, yeah, well, that's pretty much what you'd expect. And then I looked below the table, and there were cardboard trays full of Regency romance novels. Full of them. The largest selection that I've ever seen. Each one of them 50 cents. And BookTube, we might as well be straight with each other. I got 67 of them. I got 67 Regency romances. And I'm kicking myself. For all that I wish I'd gotten more of the Georgette Heyer or all of the Robert E. Howard that was there, I'm kicking myself that I didn't just get all of the Signet Regency romances that were there. The total bill for the total number of books that I saw there wouldn't have been more than $40. And I would have had every Regency romance at the sale. But it doesn't matter. I got 67 of them, and I'm of course not going to show that on camera. So you can just imagine that, or you can go to my Instagram. I have a picture of the whole of 3 giant piles of Regency romances. So we're going to leave them off here because time is of the essence. So we're going to move on to the other books that I got that weren't Regency romances. They fill their own tote bag all the way to the top and past that, and they are going to give me endless hours of pleasure. But the next thing I got, I've mentioned on this channel before, I like it. It's John Steinbeck's King Arthur book, where he just lightly novelizes, very lightly novelizes, and writes in the style of Mallory and the author of The Death of Arthur. He writes in an intentionally antiquated style where he just tells the story of King Arthur and his knights. And it isn't a school exercise. It isn't academic. It's actually, there's a thoroughly modern sensibility running throughout here, and also a very mordant sense of humor. an aware sense of humor that Steinbeck learned pretty early on had no place in the rest of his fiction. His fans don't want to read a wisecracking John Steinbeck. They don't want to read that. Because his fans are largely some of the dumbest fans of American fiction that exist anywhere in the world. And they, of course, avoid this book like the plague, because they don't want inventiveness from their author. They want, anyway, from what, this exists in a later format with an introduction by Christopher Paolini, in which he says, it's pretty good. I think he was 18 when he wrote it. But I'm happy to have this, absolutely. Especially since this trade paperback has the Darrell K. Sweet fantasy art on the inside. No scene like that happens in this book. But a scene suspiciously like that does happen in Camelot, which is probably as close as Darrell K. Sweet got to Mallory. But I had to get it. I mean, again, everything here was dirt cheap. And I don't currently have a copy of this, because the last time on this channel that I praised it as one of the only Steinbecks that's really worth reading, I got a whole bunch of hands went up in class saying, could you send me your copy, the copy that you're handing up on camera? And I did. And of course, that means I didn't have one. So I got that. And then this next one is a book that I've been tormented by here at the Richardson home. Because this house is, you can see behind me, and you know from Mark's epic library tour, the epic library tour that he did almost 2 years ago. There's every book in the world here, almost. And one of the books that is here has been taunting me, because I used to have it. I loved it. I recommended it. I think I reviewed it. And it looks like extensive security measures are in place to prevent me from simply absconding with Mark's copy. So it was providential that I found one of my own. It's this. It's a big fat biography of Ethan Allen with a lovely cover. That's his statue in the Hall of Statuary at the U.S. Capitol. And this is a terrific book. Some of you, those of you who read American history or American biography, might know this author, because he's prolific. I think this is his best book, and it gives the whole life story of somebody that too few Americans know anything about. And if they do, they know a thumbnail, a little bit here and there, a line, an incident, but the whole life is interesting. So I grabbed it, and now I won't be tempted to pilfer from my host. I won't be tempted. I'm sorry. I should clarify. I won't be tempted to pilfer that from my host. I'm still mighty tempted to pilfer from my host. But I think they know that. The next one is a UK trade paperback. I love those, and I get them whenever I can. This is Alison Weir, Henry VIII, the King and His Court. This looked very different in the American edition, and I remember kind of sort of liking it. In fact, I think I liked it more than any other Alison Weir. So I grabbed this when I got it. It's the only slight second thought that I'm having, that I had once I got back and glommed all over these books, pulled all the stickers off them, cleaned them up, took the stuff out of them. The only second thought that I'm having about this, something I should have ascertained at the sale itself, is that this is not really readable. This will break apart when I try to read it. So you know, in any library sale like this, especially one this big, I've never been to a library sale this big, there's always going to be a tiny bit of attrition. For me, anyway. I don't think this time around that Mark had any attrition at all in his picks. But for me, there's always going to be a book that I when I get it back, not only do I wish I hadn't bought it, but I simply can't use it at all. Now, I will try. I will reinforce this 6 Ways from Sunday and hope. But there's nothing you can do when you're reinforcing a trade paperback. There's nothing you can do about the actual glue, about the actual binding. If that is going to crack when you open this, when you read this all the way to page 400, then it's going to do that no matter what you do. And if it does that, then the pages are going to start to pop out in tufts. And there's nothing you can do to fix that. So I will give it a try. But I figured for the adventure. And maybe I can save it. You never know. And then this next one, a little close to the heartstrings. I have mentioned this person before, unless you are the aforementioned American 20th century political wonk, you will not recognize this person. But he had his moment in history. He had an amazing speech that he gave to an audience that wasn't expecting it, and he had an amazing report that he wrote that was a source of controversy. If you look in the history books, he legitimately belongs there. And there was a great biography written about him. And the closest he came to writing a great autobiography was this. This is the letters of Daniel Patrick Moynihan. And that is, I am sure that he wanted this as the cover illustration. There he is, an old repurposed farmhouse that he lived in and worked in I'm sure that he would have wanted that, and that his friends, and especially his wife, insisted that this be the cover photo instead, because that's much more him. He was tall and gangly and a bit of a dandy, and he had an air and just irreplaceable accent. I don't know where it came from. It's not an American accent. It's also not an accent of any of the worlds in the United Federation of Planets. I don't know where it comes from. It's not just the accent of super posh wealth like Christopher Buckley. It's something other than that. I don't know. But anyway, this is his life in letters, and keep in mind that this was a life lived entirely in the era of snail mail, where most of my life was lived, where you do have a massive body of correspondence, not just the ones you have, but the ones of yours that other people have, that they can be searched out, and you can create a compendium. And I know from personal experience that his letters are amazing. They are stereoscopic in just sweep and detail, and yet, like with his conversation and like with his official writings, his letters are atmospheric, and they swoop and glide, and they're funny and touching. And then, like everything else that he did, they have a punch, one particular punch, where all that drops away, and it's just one bald sentence that is brilliant. So, as you can tell, I am a fan, and I was very happy to see this. I had never seen this at the Brattle. The biography that I'm talking about is The Gentleman from New York, which I'll, if I remember, I'll list these things down below. But if you're interested and you don't know who he is, maybe look him up on Wikipedia and then read The Gentleman from New York. And then if you get a taste for Daniel Patrick Moynihan, then read the letters, because that's great. As far as I know, there is nothing else coming. There is no additional. There was for a while talk about congressional letters, about specifically American governance letters. I don't think that volume ever materialized. And there was also heretical talk, of a new biography. The Gentleman from New York is a classic biography. It is just like this Ethan Allen book in that you can't beat it. So why do it again? I think that biography has a short list of books like that, where it's just the perfect job has been done. So why bother? I don't know if that'll ever happen either. But I was very happy to find this, and this was something that I found on my second trip. I missed it completely the first time around, because you should have seen this room. It was a high school auditorium, and the tables had been lined the whole building in rows, and all along the sides. So the middle table, like for instance, one of the middle tables had hundreds and hundreds of titles of American history, American biography, royal biography, U.S. presidents, gardening, nature, literary subjects of all kinds under the sun. And then you go to, next door to the next auditorium, and it's the same thing for fiction. Whole vast trencher tables of contemporary fiction, historical fiction. Just incredible. But anyway, the last thing I want to show you is a big thing, and the only reason that I got it is because I remembered at the last minute. I saw it. I actually had it in my hand in this auditorium, and I thought, no way on earth. You don't have any Sherpas. Your boys are back in Boston. And I remembered, I have a car, which was invented to be the ultimate Sherpa. It's mechanical, not biological. So I think this is a chance. If I'd found this thing at a used bookstore in Boston, I would have been faced with the cruel decision of whether or not to get it, based on whether or not I had to schlep it back to Hyde Cottage. Here, the car is doing the schlepping. So I got it. I'll find room for it in Hyde Cottage. We've talked about it on this channel. In fact, we talked about it just recently. Look at this. It's the Shelby Foote trilogy of the American Civil War in a box. Now, the box has seen a little bit better days, but I will fix the box, and I will reinforce these books. And I am a fan. I mean, I love, you all know I love Bruce Catton, and he did a trilogy about the American Civil War, and he also did a one-volume book on the American Civil War, and they are great. No one has ever written about the subject with more eloquence than him in nonfiction. But that doesn't mean I can't have another trilogy. Shelby Foote has an eloquence of his own. I think he's, of course, just a wee bit too sympathetic to the traitors on the other side of the American Civil War. But considering where I am right now, deep in the heart of Vermont, for God's sake, which is... I think we're one town over from a town that was founded in 1761, before America, and you see that all the time here. You're riding around on backcountry roads, and you see you are now entering Oxbladder, founded in 1750, before there was a United States of America. So, of course, the ground has silted deep here. with a hatred of all things American South. I actually don't know that. I have a hatred of all things American South. And I had to get this. Because I know that I'm going to want to reread this. And every once in a while at the Brattle, my distant Brattle bookshop in Boston, every once in a while, actually the Brattle's not all that distant because one of my oldest cronies there was in line at this sale. He could have knocked me over with a feather when I saw him. And when he saw me approaching with a big grin on my face, he said, they'll let anybody into this sale. But when I see these, I usually see them one volume at a time at the Brattle. And that's no good. And it's also a scalding reminder to myself. Because back in 2007 or 2008, I forget the exact year, Vintage brought out the whole Shelby Foote trilogy with the original dust jackets, not this artwork, the original beige dust jackets with the sketches on the bottom. Some of you will remember what I'm talking about. Each one in a box, and they sent it to me. I had it right there in my old apartment in South Boston. And it's gone. I don't know where, so this is another reminder to me, just hold on to this thing. And to reread it, because like later this year, for instance, there's a popular press volume about Sharpsburg. And when you get a book like that, the thing you want to do, if you're a total history nerd, and there's no one to gainsay me in this house when I say that, if you're a total history nerd, and you get a new book on the Battle of Sharpsburg, the first thing you do is go to your Bruce Catton, you go to your Shelby Foote, you go to Stephen Sears or whoever, and read about Sharpsburg. Read what they have to say. Not so that you don't have to read the new book, but so that you can see where the new book is departing from the old book. And I'm certainly going to want to do that. In other words, the long and the short of it is I'm going to hold on to this Shelby Foote. Unless, of course, one of you wants it. In which case, I will send it, because I spoil almost as bad as I spoil Frida. but anyway, that's it. That was the 5 Colleges sale, and it was incredible. They do it every year, and I would very much like to come back next year. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now, and I'm really hoping, I'm filming this on the State O the Art iPad, and I'm really hoping that I'm looking in the right place, because a few of you left comments saying, "Goo, will you look at the camera?" And then a whole bunch more people sent me emails saying, "Goo, would you look at the camera?" We need to work on things on this channel. There's a distinct lack of awestruck respect. Okay? There's a distinct lack of that. Because I get bellyached all the time, and it's got to stop. I am the Lord of all I survey on BookTube. Okay? Now I've got to go and beg for supper. So I'll wrap this up, but I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.